Okay, welcome back from your vacation. I hope everyone had a fun and restful vacation and you're getting ready to get started for the second half of the school term, the school year, and very exciting. So we have about 15 weeks of school left. Yay! Okay, so in the meantime, we're going to focus our attention once again on cooking and eating healthy nutrition. Okay, so you're saying to yourself, well, cooking equals nutrition equals healthy. Okay, so let's just go with that for a little bit. And we're talking about nutrition, we're talking about nutrients, what we're putting into our bodies, and making sure that our bodies are working properly and all of our internal organs have the necessary nutrients in order to sustain good energy and a good flow throughout the course of your day. So we talked about simple carbohydrates, which is simple crackers and breads, and giving you energy, of course. Simple carbohydrates giving you energy, but it isn't sustained energy to last you throughout the course of your day. Now we talked about complex carbohydrates. Okay, complex carbohydrates, foods that we take in that are going to sustain our energy levels throughout the course of the day. So, very important. Complex carbohydrates, okay, giving us the necessary energy, right? So then we talked about eating fruits, eating vegetables, and what do vegetables have? Iron, minerals, calcium, keeping our bones strong, right? Giving us energy and complex carbohydrates to get us through the course of the day. All right? So, with that, we're going to make a recipe for a soup. Now, a soup is wonderful. It's cold outside, and soup keeps us warm and nourished. Okay, giving us vitamins and minerals, and soup can be healthy, and soup sometimes not so healthy. All right, but today we're going to make a creamy tomato soup, and very simple that not only I can make it, but I know that you can make it following the enclosed recipe. All right, so take a look for that recipe and you're going to follow along with me. All right, so there you have it. Okay, welcome back. I'm excited. You're excited. The world is excited for what you are going to make. So here is the recipe that I'm holding up for creamy tomato soup. This is a standardized recipe, which is going to give you the name of the recipe, your ingredients, your directions, and how to make it. So, what do we want to do in the beginning? Who remembers? Okay, yes, we want to read the recipe carefully. So, I expect you all to read the recipe carefully. If there is something that you don't understand about the recipe, please email me immediately so I can walk you through it, talk you through it, and to have success. All right? I teach successful outcomes. Okay? Just remember that. Let's begin. All right, so here we go. We have our mise en place. Remember that word, that cooking term, put into place. Mise en place. All right, so we have our recipe. the creamy tomato soup. Our ingredients, we have our olive oil, we have our onions, garlic, which has already been chopped along with some of the onion already. We have a bay leaf. Okay, let's just take a look at our bay leaf. See that? All right, they either come in fresh or dried. Okay, I haven't been able to find fresh bay leaves, but we're going to use dried bay leaf. Now, what is a bay leaf? Okay, bay leaf is an aromatic. Okay, we use it for soups and stocks. We don't eat bay leaves. Okay, we never want to get bay leaves ingested in our body because it can cause some havoc in our digestive system. It's very hard to digest the bay leaf. Okay, so it's a leaf, okay, and an aromatic. So just remember that, bay leaves. Very, very important. Imparts a lot of flavor into our soups and sauces. All right, and then we have our main ingredient, which is our whole peeled tomatoes. And as you can see, I'm including a 14.5-ounce can of fire roasted diced tomatoes. Okay, so why am I using fire roasted diced tomatoes and whole peeled plum tomatoes? Okay, so the fire roasted gives it a different taste. All right, that's why I'm using it. Good. 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, as you can see. 2 cups of chicken broth. Okay, remember, I'm not using plain water. I don't use plain water. Only sometimes when I'm boiling pasta, I'll use some plain water, which I also add salt to it to give it flavor. So we're also, as chefs, we're always concerned about flavor and taste and spicing. So keep that in mind. All right. The next one is 4 slices of white bread, chicken broth, salt and pepper to taste. That's asking us for fresh chopped chives. So I couldn't find any chives. So to substitute, I'm going to use scallion, which has a similar taste, but it's different. Okay, the same family. All right, so we have our directions. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to show you to chop your onions. Let's take a look. Very simple. Back and forth. Back and forth. Vertical. We're going to chop this up. Going to make it very happy. Now remember, with onions have a lot of flavor, and that's why we're always using onions. All right, so make sure, once again, have a sharp knife, because we don't want to squeeze out a lot of the onion juice that causes us to cry, and we don't want to cry. Okay, very good. Chop that up. All right, make it happy. All right, keep it all together, as you can see. I hope that in some way you've been practicing and trying to do it on your own. Once we get our new kitchen set up, okay, of course we're going to be doing a lot of cooking and live demos, and I'll be able to see how you're doing and how you're progressing, and I'm sure you'll do very well, because I teach success. I do not teach failure, and I know that you'll be very successful, and I'm very happy for you. Okay, so we're going to come to our cooking now. Read your recipe. Now, in your recipe, it calls for 4 slices of crustless bread. So we're going to take our bread knife, once again using the correct knife at all times. We're going to remove the crust from our bread, as you can see. Okay, we'll take it and we'll discard the crust. Why do we do that? Well, in cooking, the crust and the regular white bread portion has 2 different tastes to it. So in making a soup, we want to make sure that the most definite flavor is of the bread. Okay, the bread without the crust. So the crust has a cooked flavor to it. And we don't want that cooked flavor in our soup. So we remove the crust. As you can see, all the sides don't have crust to it right now. So we're just going to use it 4 slices. Okay. And we're going to start our cooking process. Okay, so we're going to take our 2 tablespoons of olive oil. We're going to just take our onions and garlic, as you can see. We're going to make the soup very, very happy. We're going to give it a lot of flavor because we're chefs, right? Exactly. Okay, you hear that? You hear that sizzle? That's what you want to hear before you add anything to the pot. You're going to get it nice and hot. Add your oil, and then you're going to add your vegetables. All right, stir it up. Oh yeah. So if you were here, you'd be able to really smell this really delicious blend of onions and garlic that really gives your food so much flavor and so much taste. All right? And what we like to do is really stir that around quickly so as to not to burn the garlic and the onion. All right? Very, very important. All right? Then, what we're going to add, I'm just going to add a little salt and pepper for a little bit of taste and flavor. Okay, you hear that sizzle. This is what we want to hear. Okay. So, 5 minutes, okay, in a large soup pot, heat 2 tablespoons of olive oil, add garlic, and saute for 5 minutes until they are translucent. That's a big word. Translucent means clear. All right, so got that nice and translucent. All right, I'm going to add my tomatoes. As you can see, putting my tomatoes in. Oh yeah. Oh. If you could just be here to smell that, you can just smell the incredible happiness that's taking place. Okay, and we just love it. And because we're chefs, we're looking for the ultimate flavor. And you see these are whole tomatoes. So what I like to do is just break them up just a little bit. Just be careful as you're doing this, because you don't want that being squirt into your eye. All right? Break it up with your hands, as I'm doing. Okay, hopefully your hands have been washed ahead of time. All right. Okay, so just getting these beautiful tomatoes, nice and red and ripe and right out of the can. Okay, this is going to be like really happiness. Okay, so we have the tomatoes mixing with the onions and the garlic. I mean, really, folks, how can you go wrong with this? All right, and this is going to make our beautiful tomato soup. Crush those tomatoes up, make them all happy, and we're going to add the juice as well. As you can see, and pour that juice right in there, make them all happy. Oh, fantastic. Very good. Okay, mix that together. Bring it all together. Is that beautiful? Beautiful. Yes, sirree. All right, let's just take a look at our recipe as I wash my hands. We're going to bring this to a boil, okay, because we need to cook the tomatoes. We're going to reduce the acidity from the tomatoes as you're cooking. So that's important because if you don't cook your tomato product, okay, you're going to really experience a bitter taste. So just remember that anything from the can should be cooked, not unless it's an already made sauce. And sometimes Hunt's has products that are already cooked, and you have the bottled jar sauces like a ragu or a prego that's already cooked, so you don't have to do that. All right, so it's only if you have time to really, make your own sauces and really want that different type of flavor, that's what you do. But in this particular case, I'm making a fresh tomato soup. All right, this is pretty easy to make once again, and so don't worry, we're going to bring this to a boil. All right. Okay, I'm going to add my aromatic. I'm going to add my bay leaf. I'm going to stir that around. Going to bring this to a boil. Okay, so we have a nice boil going on here, and you see all that steam rising. And what's happening is the scientific principle is what's called evaporation. And all that moisture from the tomatoes and the liquid is coming up, that steam. Okay, and those tomatoes are going to cook down, okay, and water evaporation is taking place. So our scientific principles are coming into play here. So the next part of our recipe is add the sugar and the bread until the bread becomes saturated. So we're going to add the sugar. 2 tablespoons. And what is our sugar going to do? Can someone tell me what that sugar is going to do? Okay, the sugar is going to just take out some of the acidity from the tomatoes, making it less bitter in our soup. It's going to impart some sweetness into our soup recipe. All right, and what I like to do at this point is I'm just going to stir around that sugar, and the bay leaf is in there. Okay, and stir that all the way around. What we're doing right now, ladies and gentlemen, is we're making happiness, and that's important. right? We're going to make that delicious soup. Well, right now what you're saying is, well, not really looking like soup to me right now, but let's just continue to observe what's taking place, and we're going to just take our bread slices. As we said, we have that bread, so we really using our ingredients for the recipe. So I'm going to take our bread. I'm going to do uno, dos, tres, and cuatro, and that's 4. And we're just going to push that down. We're just going to get that bread nice and saturated. All right. And what is that bread going to do? Okay, the bread is going to thicken. Okay, there's some, remember our breads have starches in it. And we're getting that nicely saturated. Oh, look at that, because the bread acts like a sponge, and it's going to absorb that extra liquid that's in the tomato soup, right? Right, exactly. So you see how we're getting nicely saturated bread over there. Okay, so then add the sugar and the bread until the bread becomes saturated, and we're going to just discard that bay leaf. Stir it up. So you see as it's thickened, okay, as you can see it's thickening. All right, now let's just take a look where that bay leaf went. All right, let's take that bay leaf out. As you can see, remember what I said, be careful of the bay leaf. Get rid of it, discard it. Make sure you don't eat it. All right. Okay, so we discarded the bay leaf. That was number 4. We're going to add half the soup mix to the blender. Okay, so we're going to take half of our soup mix. We're going to put it into our blender. We're going to put it on liquefy. Put your hand over. All right. Now we're going to just take it and pour it into our temporary pot. Then I'm going to add the second half. Okay, I'm going to blend that up. Okay, we are going to transfer our tomato soup back into our large pot. Okay, get it all in there. We are now going to add our chicken broth. That's number 8 on our directions. Bring soup to a boil and then simmer for 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, now we're going to just take our S&P, right? I'm going to sprinkle that around. Stir the salt and pepper. Let's taste that. That's delicious. Okay. Okay, so the final part of the recipe is we're going to just take our soup ladle, our bowl, and I'm going to take some of the soup, pour it into the bowl. As you can see. And I'm going to just take a little green onion and put that right over. Okay, and then I'm just going to top it with a little bit of olive oil. Use my bouillon spoon, which is the large spoon, and I'm going to enjoy my creamy tomato healthy soup. And that is delicious. So, our exit ticket, our summary for today is that we've learned a cooking method, soup making. Soup making is very nourishing, it's warm, makes our bodies feel good and satisfied. This was a very simple recipe using canned tomatoes and chicken broth and onions and garlic to impart delicious flavor to our soup, and using our soup pot, our ladle, our high-speed blender to blend all those delicious flavors together. And so, yeah, nutrition and cooking can be delicious and nourishing and satisfying. Take note. Read the recipe. Make the recipe for your family. It's enjoyable. It tastes great. Have a grilled cheese sandwich with it. My recommendations. Bon appetit. Take care. All the best.